As the water crisis in South Africa continues, there is concern of the state of Johannesburg's water's infrastructure amid reports that the grid is near collapse due to financial issues. Over the past decade, the country, of course, has been experiencing water challenges, with some communities not receiving clean drinking water for weeks on end. Johannesburg Water reportedly does not have the 64 billion rand it needs to replace and refurbish old infrastructure over the next decade. Johannesburg Water Managing Director Ntshavheni Mukwevho joins me now in studio. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. I want you to allay, some fears ahead of these reports. Of course, we are hearing these reports that there is a grid collapse that is imminent. What is happening within that infrastructure?
Good evening, Unati, and good evening to the viewers as well. Indeed, I can confirm to you that there is no such thing. There is no way that the grid of water or the system of water in Johannesburg is going to collapse. And I'll be able to explain to you. The number that were quoted in the article, those are very technical numbers that need to be understood clearly within the context. And the reason is, when we talk about 64 billion, it's not the 64 billion about the current infrastructure only. It is the 64 billion, which include also the expansion of the water infrastructure within the city. And what do I mean by that? Of course, water or as a water utility, we always need to be ahead in terms of providing bulk infrastructure. Otherwise, the city won't be able to grow. Otherwise, we won't be able to have the economic growth that we require. So in that number, you'll find that there is also issue of the new infrastructure that we require for future. Infrastructure, we find that we'll need those capacity in the next 20 years or so, because the reason being, these are mega infrastructure that we need to have a long-term horizon in terms of what investment is required.
We've spoken to a number of water experts. I mean, outside of even speaking to them, we know that there is a problem, because as South African citizens, we can feel it, we can see it. And so there is a problem, there is a crisis. What we also understand from these water experts is that over the past 10 years or even 20 years or so, there has not been any major infrastructure maintenance. And that is a problem. Why is that the case?
I think the issue is that, yes, we have challenges, and those challenges we need to deal with them, and these are the challenges that we will find them possibly across the water sector in general. And I'll be able to explain to you what are the interventions that we are working on, or certainly as Johannesburg Water, and some of the possible reforms that are coming through the sector, which really should be able to assist us to move forward.
So, sorry, you have challenges with maintaining the infrastructure?
Not necessarily. The biggest challenge that we have, of course, is the issue of underinvestment. We need to make sure that going forward, we are investing much more than what we're investing in the past. And what do I mean by that? You'll find that in the main, we need to be putting more resources in terms of renewal and infrastructure so that it can remain current, it can be able to perform the way it should. And of course, if you look at historically, you find that around the issue of investing in terms of renewing or rehabilitating the assets that exist on the ground, we have not really investing at the pace that we should. And that's some of the area that we need to be changing.
Why are you not?
Of course, the issue is, of course, the issue of the underfunding, where you find that resources really are not just there. And we have to make sure that the resources that we have, we stretch them really across various assets that we have. So
in the interim, to prevent what everyone is calling a grid basically, standstill and day zero, as we've seen in other cities and in other metros. We also understand that you have a backlog mounting to 24 million rand. So talk to us a little bit about that and give us a sense in terms of your business case that is contained in this dossier of financial year 2023-2024 covers that backlog.
Yeah. So the backlog that exists as things stand is 24 billion. And again, this backlog of 24 billion, one really need to unpack it and understand what is it within that number. So what really worries some of the people, that I've heard them quoting this number, is when they think that this 24 billion, it all has to do with the current existing infrastructure. For example, the pubs that we have on the ground, the plants that we have got across the city. And again, that 24 billion is not only about the existing infrastructure. It's about also issue of providing new capacity that we require in the city. I can give you an example. In that 24 billion, it includes also an amount of almost 4 billion that we need to invest in terms of putting a new plant in Lanseria, which that plant, of course, doesn't exist. It's a plant that we need to bring so that we can be able to open up certain part of the city for growth. So if we take that 24 billion and unpack it further, you'll be able to see that, for example, we've got a water network as well as sewer network of about 25,000 kilometers. And what is it really in that 24 billion that we may regard as a backlog that's supposed to go to that? You'll find that it's only about 5 to 7%. So in other words, we have got network across the city which is really in good shape that will be able still to provide the service that's required. However, of course, we know there are certain portions of the city where we need to invest and invest within the next 10 years. And that's where the 24 billion comes in.
Is there mismanagement of funds within the entity?
No, not at all. Not at all. So you need to understand how the funding model works within municipalities. So where does municipality get its resources? Now we are talking at municipal level, not even water utility. Municipality gets revenue or its income from 1, rates, 2, electricity, 3, water, as well as the issue of solid waste. That's where a municipality gets its income. And you'll know that there are much more work that goes on within the municipality, where you find that, of course, the resources that are coming from those 4 streams has also to make sure that it support other activities of municipality. But there are, of course, discussions that are happening now, which those discussions are informed also by reform that are being driven at a national level, especially for Metro, to say we need to really look as the country about the investment, around water.
Give us the short-term solutions. What is the way forward currently? Because we have, in the past few days, had people without water for weeks on end. What is the current plan that you have ongoing now? Because as it stands, we're dealing with an energy crisis, and now we have a water crisis.
So what are the plans? So the plan really is to make sure that we increase in terms of the investment that goes into water. And that investment will come into, 3 approaches. The first one, of course, is to make sure that investment within the municipality itself, we increase that. I've indicated to you that historically, you'll find that we're not really renewing infrastructure at the rate that we should. That needs to change in terms of the allocation of the resources around the water infrastructure. And currently, as I indicated, there are reforms that are going to help with that. Secondly, is the issue where we are looking at certain initiatives, like, for instance, performance-based contracts, which will be able to assist us in the space of non-revenue water demand management, which we can be able to partner with private sector, those that have strong balance sheet, to be able to bring the necessary capital that's required. And of course, the last one is where we are looking at the mega projects, like, plans that we have, where we can be able to bring in the P, which we can, of course, partner with private sector that can also help. So those are the 3 approaches that we believe they'll be able to assist us in increasing the investment in water.
So we'll continue to see these challenges, but we won't see necessarily a grid collapse. But thank you so much. I think that's the time that we have for you today. Thank you so much, Johannesburg Water Managing Director, the Ntshavheni Mukwevho, who joins us now, of course, on the back of those very serious reports of a grid collapse, a near collapse in the Johannesburg Water. But those fears now being allayed by the Managing Director.